live?
Yes, we are live.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam service. Today we will be discussing the chapter number 11 from third canto, calculation of time from the atom. Let's sing Jai Radha Madhav and then we will start the discussion. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Vijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Vijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Gaja Janarandana Yashodanandana Gaja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Vanarana Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Vijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Padati Radha Padati Shri Radha Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Shri Radha Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radha Jaya Dev Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagni ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेष्व भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji. Once again, welcome to special Srimad Bhagavatam sessions organized by ISKCON Sydney. So today's topic, as I was saying, is we will be discussing the calculation of time from the atom. So just some background, just so we understand. We all like to do some measurement. Take as simple as you want to count how much money you have. So we all like to have some numbers, some sort of calculation, some sort of quantification of things that we do. We always want to quantify, to the extent even taking the prasadam. You want to count how many chapatis, I'm going to take. Something like that, in our day-to-day life. And the whole purpose of this is to increase our knowledge, increase our understanding of the things around us. So that is the concept of measurement. Now in measurement, there are three main categories or three main things that normally we like to measure. So for example, length. Now if you go back to the old times, they used to measure the length. And in earlier days, they would measure the length by the body parts. They will say one angle, like one finger, two finger, four finger, one plan of the hand, the stretch. Like even in the village, they still say, we used to call it gland back in the village. So they will say 5, 10, something like that. But these things change. Suddenly they realize that the size of a finger of one person is not same as another person. But it was just rough guesstimates because we wanted to measure and quantify. Even to the extent, when you read 13th chapter of the 3rd canto, when Bhagwan Varahadev appeared. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam there, Maitreya is telling Vidurji that the size, how initially a small thing appeared from the nose of Brahmaji when Lord Varaha incarnated or appeared. And in the Bhagavatam, 13th chapter, shlok number 22, it is said that Angusht Matra Angusht, the weight. Now we all do our own body weights. So like this. And the third major component of our day-to-day life that we wanted to know is the time. How do we measure the time? Yeah. And as per Vedic calculations or Vedic system, the time was calculated based on the revolution of the celestial planets. Yeah? The main focus is the sun, the full revolution of sun. Yeah? Like we call solar year. Yeah? So that is the principle, or that is being followed through the Vedic times. How do we measure the time? By the movement of the celestial planets. Even in this chapter, it is called Ida Vatsara, which is the movement of the stars, the celestial planet. Samavatsara. So Vatsara is in year, and Sam means sun, movement of the sun. Ida Vatsara, Samvatsara, like this. The movement of the moon. So there are different lunar year. China celebrates. In China, they have lunar year celebration. So these are the use. So these are the basic principles. So measurement or the calculation of the time has been an important part of our life. Yeah. So it was time immemorial. It has been happening. Now in this chapter, or in today's discussion, here Vidurji is asking Maitreya that I want to know the calculation of the time. Yeah. Because in the previous chapter, in the 9th chapter, Maitreya had described to Vidurji the potency of the time. And he was saying to him that Loko Vikarma Nirata, that the human beings, they are involved doing Vikarma. Vikarma is the actions which are not prescribed as per the Vedas. So people are loko vikarma nirata kushle pramatta. Yeah? And they are trying to get good out of these actions, but they are involved into that. And then he also says that the karam, he's praying to God now, praying to Supreme Lord Brahmaji, before he is going to start the creation again at the end of his night. At the end of his night, and we'll discuss in these sessions to get an understanding Brahma's days and night. But here he is praying to the Supreme Lord when he got darshan of the Supreme Lord. So he's praying to the Lord that, my dear Lord, that the human beings living here, yeah, and then he says, Balwan iha jeevit asham. They have such a strong desire to live, my dear Lord, that they are doing all these vikarma. Nirata is in, they are continuously involved in performing these vikarmas, which are not allowed as per the Shastras. They are involved into that karmas, my dear Lord. Whereas karmanni ayam tvad udite bhavad archanesya. So he says, my dear Lord, you have already prescribed the actions that they should be performing is bhavad archanesya, that they should be glorifying you, they should be worshipping you, they should be dedicating all their activities to you. But balwan iha jeevit asha. But they have such a strong desire to live and enjoy this material world that they still continue to do those karma. But what happens? But still, my dear Lord, what happens is that sadyas chinati nimishaya, yeah, namastostu tasmai. So he says, my dear Lord, sadyas, immediately, chinnat, all their plans just get shattered, destroyed, nimishai, in just a moment. Yeah, all their plans got destroyed, my dear Lord, I bow down. So from here, Vidurji picked up this point that people are still involved, but their plans get diminished, like destroyed within a fraction of time. So he now questions Maitreji that, please tell me, how does that happen? And his question is, yathatha bahurupasya harer adbhut karmana kalakyam lakshanam brahman, yeah, yatha na varnaya Prabhu. So he says, my dear Lord, he's addressing Maitreji as Brahman, yeah, who is knower of Brahma, yeah, Brahman who understands, who knows the knowledge, who has all the knowledge. So he's asking Maitreji that, my dear sir, please tell me the lakshan, the symptoms of that Kal, who is one of the energy of the Supreme Lord himself. Yeah? Yatha atha varnaya na Prabhu. So he says, please, yatha varnaya na Prabhu, as it is. Yeah, please tell me in detail that time, how was that time gets calculated. So, and then Maitreji describes the various creations. This is in the 10th chapter, before he starts describing the time. So he describes to him the various creations first. And then when we start, when we go to first verse of the 11th chapter, we'll understand why he first described the various creations, all the 10 creations, and then he will start discussing about the calculation of the time. Let's do Mangalachan to purify our Vani, and then we will discuss. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamlam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitantam Sajivam Savadhetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubha Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Utir Mahadbhir Yayma Puro Vibho Nirmayashete Yadmosha Purusha Bhunte Gunansho Dashatmakam Solank Srishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me Shri Krishna Sharanam Sharnagatam Katha Amritam Satat Pibatam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Panthanam Sarvalok Rishi Deva Janma Prasannam Sarvalok Rishi Deva Janma Prasannam. Hare Krishna. So, Prabhuji and Mataji, we just discussed we just spoke about the question from Vidurji to Maitreji. So, this is the conversation happening between Vidurji and Maitreji. And mind you, very important point to also take note of here is that, so these are only two people who are talking to each other. So, in a satsang, you don't need big crowds. Just two people having a samvad. One listening, one speaking. One questioning, another person is answering. So that is, and this is the greatest of satsang. That's why Shukdevji is speaking to this or describing this to Parikshit Maharaj when he's about to leave his body. Yeah, it's very important. So Vidurji is asking question to Maitreji and he's asking about the time. Kala Akhyam. Yeah. So he wants to know about the time, how the time gets calculated. Another point I want to flag here is you will notice that this question about the time, about the kal, has been asked by many devotees at many places. Even in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the second canto, Parikshit Maharaj has asked Shukdevji about the time. In the second canto, 8th chapter, verse number 12, Parikshit Maharaj is asking to Shukdev Goswami, Yavan kalpo vikalpo va yatha kalo anuyate. Yeah? So he says, my dear sir, please tell me as it is kalpo. So he wants to know about the kalp, about which is Brahmaji's day. So he wants to know right from the creation to the annihilation, the duration. How do we calculate that? Vikalpo. He also wants to know the subsidiary creations, like various yugas, various manvantars. So he asked that, how do we calculate that? Yavan kalpo vikalpo va yatha ayur anuniyate. How do we calculate the age of various living entities? He's starting from demigods, pitris, human beings, Brahmaji. So he wants to know yatha kalo anuniyate. And then he also asks bhut bhavya bhavach shabda ayurmanam yatha ayurmanam chayat sada. Yeah. So he says these words, you know how we say bhut, past, bhavya, the future, the present. So these words, what do they indicate? Very important questions. We need to ask ourselves. We need to question. So Parikshit Maharaj asked these questions, that what does these words mean? How do we calculate the age of various living entities? Yeah? Then you will also hear when you go to in the third canto, Mother Devhuti. After she's asked about the devotional service, then she again asked two questions to Bhagavan Kapil Dev. She asked about the time and then she also asked about the karma. So he says, Kalasya Ishwara Rupasya Paresham cha Parasyate Swarupam Bat Kurvanti Tad Heto Kushlam Jana. Yeah? So she is asking Bhagavan Kapil Dev about the time and the karma. Very important. So because time is very important, as a devotee, we have to be mindful of time. I hear His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, he had his schedule lined up. Every 30 minutes what he is going to do. Every 30 minutes, the detail to that extent was planned. So the reason the devotees and the reason this division of time, somebody might say this is a mundane topic, why it is included in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But all the devotees are asking about this. So the reason the devotees ask about this is because they understand the importance of time. They understand that time is running. Yeah? The moment which is gone, it will not come back. So they are worried about the time. They are concerned about the time so that they can use their time to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the whole objective of devotees asking about. And Mata Devuti, after understanding the devotional service, then she asking about the, my dear sir, tell me, yeah, Kalasya Ishwara, yeah, which is your energy, that time. So the time is your representation, my dear sir, my dear Lord, please tell me. And Tad Heto Kushlam Jana. Then she also says that because of the time, the people perform pious activities. Yeah. Then he says, Swarupam Bata Kurvanti. Bat is as in alas. Alas, the people do good activities, good karmas by the fear of the time. Your energy personified. By the fear of the time, they perform those pious activities. But those pious activities, my dear sir, they are also time-bound. Whereas the real pious activity is to serving you. So she also questioned about the time. So Mata Devuti questioned about the time. Vidurji is questioning about the time. Parikshit Maharaj is questioning about the time. And not just that, when Bhishma Pitama was on the bed of arrows, on the deathbed, and Lord Krishna took Yudhishthira Maharaj onto the battlefield, there also Yudhishthira Maharaj asked a question to Bhishma Pitama. So Bhishma Pitama spoke about various dharmas. And then in Mahabharata Shanti Parv it is mentioned that Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking Bhishma Pitama. So he is asking Bhishma Pitama, Adyantam Sarva Bhutanam Shrotum Ichchami Kaurava. O Kaurav, O Bhishma Pitama, Adyanta, Adi and Ant of Bhutanam, of all the living entities. Shrotum Ichchami Kaurava. Dhyanam Karma Kalam Cha. Tathaiv Ayur Yuge Yuge. What they should meditate on, what kind of activities they should perform, and how the time is calculated. Ayur and the various ages in different Yuge, in different millenniums, how the age is calculated. Yudhishthira Maharaj is again asking that question. And then how Bhishma Pitama responds. Now Bhishma Pitama tells Yudhishthira Maharaj that, my dear Yudhishthira, I will answer your question. A similar question was asked by Shukdev from his father Vyasdev. So I'm going to narrate what question was asked by Shukdev to Vyasdevji. I'm going to simply narrate that conversation. Now Shukdevji asked Vyasdevji, he's asking Bhut Gramasya Kartaram, Kala Gnane Cha Nishchayam. So he's saying Bhut Gramasya Kartaram, Kala Gnane Cha Nishchayam. So he says, my dear, so here Shukdev is asking Vyasdevji that Bhut Gramasya Kartaram, the one who is creator of all the living entities, Kala Gnane Cha Nishchayam, based on the knowledge of the time, as per the time, Nishchayam, definitely. My dear sir, I want to know that. So Shukdev Goswami asked that question to Vyasdevji, and now Bhishma Pitama is going to speak to Maharaj Yudhishthira, and he also going to describe to him the calculation of the time. So very important, Prabhuji Mataji, the concept that we understand behind this is, we have seen all these exalted personalities, they have asked about the time, how the time is calculated, how the age is calculated, how the age is calculated for all the living entities, in various millenniums. And like I said, the only objective behind this questioning or their reasoning for understanding is so that as a devotee you can understand how much time, how do I work it out. So that's how it works. So that is the background. Now going to the discussion about this chapter 3.11, and it is called calculation of time from the atom. Now when Maitreya starts describing to Vidurji, he starts describing first the atom, about the atom, or rather he uses the distance to calculate the time, because calculation of the time is not so easy. It's a bit complicated, if I can use the word, but he uses the distance. And as we know, if we know the distance, then they know the speed of the sun, and then the distance divided by speed equals time. So that's how you can calculate the time. So he uses the distance, and he starts with the atom first. He starts with the atom, and then he will, and because atom is the smallest particle, so he says charma. In the first verse he is saying charma yad visheshana. Charma is which is the ultimate particle. Charma yad visheshanam aneko asanyuta sada. Parmanu sa vigneya nirnam ek brahmoyata. In the first verse, Maitreya is telling Vidurji that Charma, the ultimate particle of this material creation, Charma is ultimate particle of this material universe, he is saying, which is unique, asanyuta, which is like non-divisible, which is non-divisible, which is on its own, sada, always, aneko, there are many indivisible particles, but that is the you can say the last division. You can't subdivide that, put it this way. Charma, which is the ultimate. So that's what Maitreya is saying. Paramanu sa vigneya. Understand, Vidurji, that this is what is called Paramanu, or if you break the word, Paramanu. Param as in, the supreme or the ultimate, and similarly Charma, which is the ultimate. But then here he also says Nirnam Aikya. But because when these atoms are combined, Nirnam, the human beings consider them as one combined item. And Brahmo Yata, but they are actually illusioned. In the translation, Srila Prabhupada clarifies, and he gives an analogy that it is like our human body. Our human body is made of this Panchatattva. All these Panchatattva gets combined, and then we get this human body. But we start considering this body as one. But it is made up of those Panchatattva, Panchmahabhut, different particles. So the lowest or the ultimate particle of this material creation, Prabhuji Mata, is called Parama. Please remember that. Then in the next slok he is saying, so this is the lowest one. Then in the next one he says that Parama Mahan Vishesho Nirantara. So this is the smallest particle and it stays all the time. And then he says the Mahan, the greatest one is this. If you look at the whole universe, the whole creation, which is from creation to the annihilation. At the time of annihilation, whatever is there, so that is called the Mahan, Parama Mahan. So the smallest is Paramanu and the greatest is the Parama Mahan. So basically, Lord is saying here, or Maitreya is saying here, the Lordship, he pervades this whole universe. He pervades this whole universe in the form of a Paramanu. And he limits this universe in the form of Paramaha. I hope we are together, So Paramanu and Paramaha. Now in the next one he says now we go to the next point, which is the measuring. How do we measure? Yeah. So now, as I said, so the concept is the time it takes to pass that Parmanu, yeah, or to cover that, and we use sun. The movement of sun is the speed of the sun is the calculating factor. Speed and distance is basically the length of this Parmanu. Yeah? And we will go in detail. We'll look at the various components, but that's it. So the smallest is Parmanu. So Maitreya is starting with that in first and second verse, and then he says, "Evam kalopi anumita." Yeah? In the similar way, now he's saying the time can also be measured. Evam kalopi anumita sokshame stholye cha sattama. Sattama is addressing to Vidurji. Hey Vidurji, now similarly, evam kalopi anumite. Anumite as in anuman, as in measure. So he's saying similarly, the time can also be measured. Sokshame as in the smallest, and stholye as in the largest, which is from the beginning of creation, from the creation to the annihilation, which is 3.11 trillion years, which is the life of Brahma, the life of Brahmaji, 100 years of Brahmaji. Yeah? So that's how we can measure the time also. Yeah? And then he says sakala parmanur aiv, yeah, bhunkte parmanuta. So that time is called the Parmanu time. Very important, please. So sakala parmanur aiv ye bhunkte parmanuta. Bhunkte word is also used for eating, by the way. Yeah? But here we use in the sense the cover. The time it takes to cover a Parmanu is called Parmanu time. Yeah? In 3.11.4, Maitreya is telling Vidurji, Sakalah Parmanur ev ye bhunkte Parmanuta. Yeah? And then he says, yato vishesh. Yeah? And that other time which covers the whole universe. Yeah? Sakala Paramo Mahan. Similarly, that Param Mahan, Kaivalyam Parama Mahan in the second shloka, as Maitreya is saying, Kaivalyam, which is the in totality of this universe. So that was the distance. But here, the time to cover a Parmanu is called Parmanu time, and the time to cover from beginning, from creation to annihilation is called Paramo Mahan. So this is called the greatest of the time, which is the 311 trillion years of Brahmaji's life. So I hope we have now said or understood the principle behind this calculation, and we started with distance. Now let me just share my screen and take you through some further calculations. Okay. So calculation of time from the atom, as I was saying. So we use distance. Yeah, very important. From distance, then we are calculating the time. Okay. So this is the So these are all the calculations. So let's just go through them. So the top, as I said, sun is the central point for calculating all the different durations. So it is the speed of the sun. Yeah? That's what we use for these calculations. So as I said, now in the following verses 3.11.5.2, and then it just continues. So Maitreya is telling Vidurji now that one Parmanu, one atom, so which is the smallest one, as we discussed in the very first verse, which is as small as it can be, which is a sanyuta, which is always separate, indivisible, yeah, and which cannot be further divided. Yeah. So then the next stage is two Parmanus combined together become atom, double atom. So it is called one anu. Two Parmanu make one anu, which is also called double atom. Then when we add, then the three double atoms make one Trashrenu, or it is called a hexatom. Now Trashrenu, Maitreya is saying, we can't see. By the way, he also and in the purpose and in the also it is clarified, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he also says in his commentary that we cannot see Parmanu and Anu. We don't have those capability, but they say we can see Trash Renu. Yeah, and Trash Renu, which is 3 double atom, or you can say 6 Parmanus, which is also called hexatom. Yeah. Now Trash Renu, Prabhuji Mataji, Trash means movement, and Renu means the dust, literally, if we split the word. Yeah. So these are the dust particles, and they say when you see the sunlight coming through the window, sometimes you see some atoms flying in the air. I'm sure you must have experienced that, but if you haven't, you can try it tomorrow. Through the window, when the sun comes, so you can see some dust particles going upward. Yeah? So it's called Trash Renu. Renu is in dust and Trash is in flying. So these are flying up. You can see that. Yeah? And then you see the time written against it is 197.53 microsecond. So which is the time it takes for sun to cover that distance. So that's how we calculate the time. Okay? That you can say the time. And as I said, in the word it is uses ye bhunkte sakala parmanur eva ye bhunkte parmanuta. Bhunkte is also called eaten. So literally, Prabhuji Mataji, when we are saying, you are 10-year-old, so 10 years of your life have been eaten away. Understand it this way, bhunkte. Yeah. So similarly, it's the time to cover, and it's also the time to, you can say literally, your life has been taken away. So 3 double atoms make 1 Trashrenu, then 3 Trishrenus, which is 18 Parmanus, yeah, which makes 1 Truti. Now, in the purport of 3.11.6, Srila Prabhupada says that if a second is divided into 1687.5 part, each part is the duration of a Truti as per purport 3.11 and 6. So that's how I've got these numbers here, and then I'll work backwards. Okay? So 3 Trashrenu, 18 Parmanu, which is equal to 1 Truti. And 1 Truti, as per this purport, Srila Prabhupada's purport, I worked it out, which calculates to be 592.59 microsecond. And then I worked backwards. So I just divided this time by 3 to get the time for double atom. And then I divided it by 2 to get time for a Parmanu. And then I divided by 2 to again get time for Parmanu actually. And then, so Parmanu, and then double atom, and then Trashrenu, and then Truti. So Truti time we got from the purport. That's how I worked out this table. Now then in the future shlokas, then as we go through the chapter, so it is said that 100 Truti make 1 Veda. Yes. And once again I've used this table. So 1 Veda, so the time for that is 59.26 milliseconds. And you see a table on the left hand side. I've mentioned microsecond is 1 divided by 1 million, as in 6 zeros, and then millisecond is 1 divided by 1000, as in 3 zeros. So this is how I worked out this time, and we have already covered, just to reiterate. So this actually means, so this time is the time required to cover for this covered by the sun. Yeah. So this is literally the solar time, if you like. And as I said, so the distance by speed gives you the time. Yeah? That's how it is. So then 3 Veda makes 1 lava. Lava word you have heard. Yeah? Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi. So you can see how much is the lava. It is only 177.78 millisecond. A fraction and a fraction of a second. So if we can get that much association of a sadhu, then sarva siddhi hai, lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hai, sarva shastrika. And this is the word of all the shastras. So that is why I'm saying, Prabhuji Mataji, all these devotees, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, Vidurji, Mata Devhuti, that is why they are all asking about the time. Yeah. So that is the importance of time. That is why. Yeah. And then 3 lavas make 1 nimesh. 1 nimesh is blinking of the eye. Yeah. So blinking of eye is 533.33 milliseconds. So that's 1 nimesh. Now 3 nimesh equals to 1 shan. Shan is, in English we say moment. Give me a moment. Very often when we're speaking, I won't be long. Give me a moment. I'll be back in a moment, right? And sometimes jokingly people say, oh, you said a moment is already gone. Yeah, and then so I was just saying something, But very important, once again, a moment, yeah, lava matra sadhu sangha sarvashri. Yeah. But as a devotee, we really appreciate the time. Yeah. Every day, our life is being taken away. Every moment we lose, we can't get it back. Yeah. If you are 30-year-old, 30 years your time has been gone. Very important. So that is why devotee, and this is the reason. Then 5 moments make 1 kasta, which is 8 seconds. Then 15 kasta make 1 lagu, which is 2 minutes. Now, in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada has also mentioned that 1 lagu is 2 minutes, and I calculated using this table, so this is also working out to be 2 minutes. Yeah. Then 15 lagu makes 1 nadika, which is also called a danda, which is 30 minutes. Now, to give you the perfection of our calculation, in the shloka, I think it's 8th or 9th verse, also Maitreji describes to Vidurji how can we calculate a danda. A danda, he says, we take a copper vessel, a copper pot of certain specification for that. Then we make a hole into that copper pot using a robe made of gold. And there are also some specification for that rope that we use. And it has to be 4 finger long because that's what gives it some density. So when we make a hole into that pot, and if you put the pot into the water, so the amount of time it takes for the water to fill up that pot through that hole is called a danda. So see, so this was a Vedic system of calculating the time. So that was 30 minutes. Then 2 dandas, Prabhuji Mataji, makes 1 muhurat. Yeah. Now, I've also, very often we hear during our calculation, if you are doing something auspicious, we go and we say, oh, this is not a good muhurat, this is not the good time. We should consult an astrologer, we should consult a panditji who can look at the Vaishnava calendar and give us some muhurat. Yeah. So a muhurat is roughly 60 minutes, but there are 30 muhurats in our 24 hours, Prabhuji. Yeah? I mean, I worked out from this table, but once again, like I said, let's not get too much into the calculations. Yeah, but this is as per the table. At the same time, there are 30 muhurats in a day, yeah? Which roughly makes 1 muhurat to be 48 minutes long. Yeah? But that's not like that. Some muhurats are only 10 minutes. You know how when you are doing a puja on Deepavali, we get a muhurat saying this is the best time, and sometimes you get an hour and a half, so 2 muhurats combined, that this is the best time to perform a puja. There is a best time for, performing some ceremony. I mean, even our Srila Prabhupada, he used to consult at times. So once Srila Prabhupada, when he was in India, we were having problems. The Indian government will not extend the visa for his American disciples. They were thinking they were all FBI agents. And at that time, Prime Minister was Indira Gandhi. And Prabhupada, there was a member of parliament who was Prabhupada's close associate, and he was like very surrendered to Srila Prabhupada. So he asked Srila Prabhupada, what can I do? So Prabhupada said, can you arrange a meeting with Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister at the time, and I want to meet with him. So when they tried to arrange a meeting with Indira Gandhi's secretary, they were giving a time. And Prabhupada said, no, this is not the right time. This is not a good time. Change the appointment. He actually asked to change the appointment to a morning time. I think they were giving in the afternoon. So then they got the time changed, and then Prabhupada went and met Indira Gandhi. And he explained to Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister of India at the time, that look, all of these disciples, this is their routine. They are getting up early in the morning at 4 o'clock. They are performing Mangala Aarti. They are chanting their rounds. Then they are going out preaching. All they are doing is Krishna Bhakti. Yeah? They are preaching so heavily, and you can see the results. And then Indira Gandhi was highly impressed. Yeah. Indira Gandhi was impressed, and then obviously they extended the visa for our American senior Prabhupada disciples. But yeah, so that is the importance of Muhurat. Sometimes you do consult them, but at the same time we don't get hung up. Let's not use this example for looking for Muhurat for every other of our activity, because also another example, once Srila Prabhupada's disciple, they were walking and they saw people sitting on the street there were some astrologers, they were doing the palmistry, and they were going to tell your future, etc. And one of them asked Srila Prabhupada, what do you think? And Prabhupada said, for a devotee, every time is auspicious. You just chant Mahamantra and everything will become auspicious. So I gave you that example. So it was, let's not use that as an excuse, or let's not change our life. But our Gotra is Achyut Gotra. Achyut means infallible. Yeah? And Lord Krishna has given a promise. Name Bhakta Pranashyati. Yeah? His devotees will never perish or fall down. But I just wanted to highlight the point about the Muhurat. Now, talking of the okay, so that's that. So I've already covered that Muhurat. Then 6 or 7 dandas, which is roughly about 1/4 of a day or night. Now, a day and a night. So in a day we have 24 hours. So night is sometimes we just half it. So 12-hour day, 12-hour night. Yeah? So a danda. So there are 6 or 7 dandas in 1/4 day or night. 1/4 of a day or night is 3 hours. Yeah? So 12 hours divided by 3, which makes it divided by 4, which makes it 3 hours. Yeah, 12. Yeah. So it's 3. So there are 6 or 7 dandas in a day, which is 3 hours for human calculation. Now you also hear a word called prahar or yam. Yeah, yam is a 3-hour window, which is 1/8 prahar, which is 1/8 of the day. Yeah, 1/8 of the day is 3 hours. 8 3s are 24. That's what makes it 3 hours. You must have heard the word yam in Bhagavad Gita when Lord Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, when he's speaking in the 17th chapter, verse number 10. Lord Krishna is saying, Yat yamam gatarasam. Yeah. So Yat yamam is, so the Krishna is telling Arjun that the food eaten in the mode of ignorance, or the food which people in the mode of ignorance like. So that's what he's describing in this shlok. So Krishna is saying, Yat yamam gatarasam pitu, as Yat yamam as in food that was cooked, yam. So that's the word I'm highlighting. Yeah, yat as in gone. 3 hours have gone after the food was cooked. Yat yamam gatarasam. The food has become stale. Yeah, and then he also says pitu. There is smell coming out of the food. Yeah, and then he also says uchistamapi. The food which is the remnant of someone else, not of Guru, not of a Vaishnava, not something which has been offered to the Lord. Yeah. So that's the quality. So Krishna says bhojanam. Yeah. So this type of bhojan is dear to the people who are in the mode of ignorance. So yat yamam, remember that word. But also in the purport, Prabhuji Mataji, again to focus that, Prabhupada says that, but if that food has been offered to Krishna, then it is prasad. Prasad you can eat next day, later, as long as it has been offered to Krishna, then there is no problem. But yat yamam, so yeah, so that's where the word yam comes from. Prahar, yeah. So that's that. Now, in a day, 1 day and 1 night, there are 8 prahars, yeah, which is 24 hours. Yeah, 4 prahar during the day, 4 prahar during the night. When Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu speaking to Sanatan Goswami, Gauranga Mahaprabhu also mentions about these prahars when he is describing to Sanatan Goswami about the Leelas, and also he speaks about the time. Once again, same concept, how time is important for the devotees. Mahaprabhu says, Ek, Dui, Teen, Chari, Prahar Ashta Hoy. Yeah? Char Prahar Ratri Gele Punah Surai. Yeah? Madhya Leela, 28th chapter, verse number 390. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling. So once again, so that's how. So there are 8 prahars, 4 during the day and 4 during the night. Now I've got another table I just want to share with you. I hope this is visible to you, but I just picked it up from two calendars so that you can get a feel of when we say Prahar and Muhurat, what does it mean? So if you look at this calendar is from 13th August 21, and as you can see, there are these Prahars, yeah, and there are the Muhurats. So in this case, in this Prahar, there are only three Prahars, like three Muhurat, yeah, and as you can see, so the time it starts from 6:37 and then it ends 7:20, yeah. But all in all, there are 30 Muhurats in this table here. Like I was saying, in a day there are 30 Muhurats and there are 8 Prahars. So if you check the name of these Prahars, so there should be 8. So this is how it is divided. A day is divided. Yeah? And I would specifically also like to bring your attention to this Prahar, Prabhuji Mataji. You see this Ratri Prahar, and this is not a very good Muhurat. This is for the Rakshasas. That is why it is called Nishachar. Nisha is in Ratri and Char is in people who are moving during the nights. So we should always avoid moving about in the nights. Even though we are devotees, we are protected by the holy name, but we should be mindful of when we are stepping out or when we are moving out. So some of these Muhurats are not, they are inauspicious. Especially, I advise that avoid Rakshas Muhurat. You don't want to go out and meet those demons unless you want to go out and do some preaching. Yeah. So this is how a day is divided into various Muhurat and Prahars. Yeah. So now let's go back to our table. So here, what we're seeing is, so we have covered up to here. So there is one Prahar, which is called one Yam, which is 1/8 of the day, which is 3 hours, and there are 8 Prahars in a day or Yam. Yeah? And 4 Prahars during the day and 4 Prahars during the night time. Then 1 day and 1 night, once again 8 Prahars, which is of 24 hours. Now we have got to a point now, like we started on this side of the table. We started with the distance, and now we have moved forward using that same concept. So we have now come to the gross time calculation, which we do as in our daily lifetimes, or we follow. Then 7 days and 7 nights is called one Saptaha, which is a week. Yeah, and then 2 Saptaha make a Paksh, which is a fortnight, and then we have 2 fortnights of 15 days each. Yeah, or 2 Paksha. Now we go to human month. So this is how human month is, which has 2 fortnight, 1 black and 1 white. Shukla Paksh and Krishna Paksh, and as you know, today is Ekadashi. So like this, we just move from 15 days cycle to another 15 days, and so this is how one human month is. Now the calculation has been done for the human month. Now after the human month, now Maitreji is telling Vidurji about the 1 day and night of Pitras. Remember what was the question? Vidurji asked about the Kalakhyam Lakshanam Brahman. So he was asking about the Lakshan of the time. But prior to that, Parikshit Maharaj had asked a question, similar question to Yatha Ayur Anuniyate. Yeah? In 2.8.12, Parikshit Maharaj had asked a question to Shukdevji. And Shukdevji hold off to that question. And then he tells him, okay, let me discuss other topics, but I will come to this. So now he is narrating this conversation between Maitreji and Vidurji to answer the question by Parikshit Maharaj, who was asking about the age and the time. Yeah, Yatha Ayur Anuniyate, yeah? Of the different living entities. Yeah, so Ayur Manam Cha Yat Satar. Yeah, so how do we measure the time? And he also asks about the age of the various living entities, starting from the demigods, human beings, pitras, and everyone else. So now 1 human month, please take a note, is equals to 1 day and 1 night of pitras. So literally, pitras as in forefathers, pitralok, yeah, pitrinyanti, yeah. So if you worship your forefathers, you get to go to the planet of the forefathers. So they're 1 day and 1 night. So basically, our 1 month, which is 30 days, out of our 30 days, our 15 days is their 1 day, is equivalent to 1 day. Yeah. And then another 15 days is their night. So our white is their day, our black is their night of Pitras. Yeah. And then next, so 2 human months make 1 Ritu. 1 Ritu as in seasons. So there are 6 seasons in a year. So you know the various seasons. Right now, we are still in the winters. The spring is going to start next month. So the seasons are, we are in the winter now, then you have spring, then you have summer, then you have monsoon, then you have autumn, which is also called Sharat Ritu, and then you have pre-winter. Okay? And about autumn is actually considered to be very auspicious. Once again, when Parikshit Maharaj is asking question to Shukdev ji in 2nd chapter 285, he is asking Parikshit Maharaj that tell me more about the Krishna Katha, and then he gives an analogy. So he says when this Hari Katha enters into the ears, so he says Pravishta Karna Randhrena Swanam Bhava Sarorvaha, yeah, Dhunoti Shamlam Krishna Salilasya Yatha Sharat. Sharat is autumn Ritu. So the reason and the analogy that he is giving is that when this Katha of Hari enters into the ear, and then he says, Swanam Bhav Saroruham. Swanam as in your own mood, your own bhav. With what bhav you are hearing that story of Hari Katha or Katha about Krishna, then Krishna enters through Pravishta Karna Randhrena, through the holes of the ears, Krishna enters and he sits on your Hriday Kamal, on your lotus, on the lotus of your heart, depending as per your mood, as per your bhav. He goes and sits there, and what does he do? Dhunoti Shamlam Krishna. And then Krishna cleanses your heart. And how he cleanses, the analogy he gives is Salilasya Yatha Sharat, as in autumn. So in the autumn season, Prabhuji Mataji, what happens is, when there is a lot of rain, so just before the autumn, we have had the rainy season, yeah? Summer, monsoon, and autumn. So in the rainy season, what happens is there is so much water. You see the floods coming. So all the waters become muddy water. But the rain in the autumn season is like drizzling. And when that rain falls on that muddied water, what it does is it slowly settles the dust which is there in the water. And then the water becomes crystal clear. Similarly, when we hear Krishna Katha with that mood, the Krishna enters through our ears, sits on our heart, and it cleans our heart. Yeah. Salilasya Yatha Sharat. Yeah. So these are the 6 seasons in one human year. Then 3 ritus, or you can say 6 months, 3 ritus is called 1 ayan, which is 6 months. And now the sun completes one movement. The sun goes from north to south, and like we say, Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. Yeah. Sun goes from, when it goes towards the south, then it's called Dakshinayana, and when it starts going up, then it's called Uttarayana. Yeah. Uttarayana is that your days start getting longer. When it's going to Dakshinayana, the days are getting shorter. Yeah. So we have 3 ritus, 6 months, and 6 months is one complete movement, solar movement, by the way. Yeah? And as I said, on the top you see the sun is the central point for calculating all the different durations. Then the next one is 2 ayan is 1 human year, as I've already said, 12 months, which is 2 complete solar movements, north to south and south to north. And then the next one is 1 human year, which is called a Varsh, which is 1 day and night of the demigods. Remember this, yeah? So, and the human being has a duration of life of 100 years. By the way, I've made a comment here. Now, somebody might say, but Prabhuji, it is said that in Kali 100 years, in Dwapar 1000 years, in Treta 10,000 years, and in Satyug it is 100,000 years. So, by the way, this is spoken, or this conversation happened just 5,000 years ago when Kali was about to begin. So you will also notice this Samvatsara Shatam Nirnam. So this is what Maitreji is telling Vidurji. Yeah. So sometimes you find these differences, but the point is, we don't get hung up into this. We get to the principle. We get to the gist, the underlying tattva. What is the tattva? Yeah. So let's not do these, cross calculations. Sometimes we like to do that, and Prabhupada even says that we should study scrutinizingly. But there is, but the basic understanding is how much do you want to scrutinize? Yeah. So the human life, the duration of life is human life is 100 years in Kali Yuga, and our 1 year is 1 day and night of the demigod. So this is Prabhuji Mataji question asked by Vidurji and responded by Maitreji in Srimad Bhagavatam. I will also like to share with you the question that was asked. I said to you that Yudhishthira Maharaj also asked the question from Bhishma Pitama, Adyanta Sarva Bhutanam Shrotam Ichchami Kaurava. Yeah? And then he says, Dhyanam Karma Kalam Tatheva Ayur Yuge Yuge. In various millenniums, how is the age calculated? So let me share that also with you, and you will find a lot of similarity. Once again, the point is, as a devotees, we want to know about the time for the purpose of utilizing our time properly. So as per, you see this shloka on the top, Aho Ratre Vibhajate Suryo Manush Lokike, and then in the bracket you say Manush Devike. Actually, this shloka has appeared at two places. It has appeared in Manusmriti, and it has also appeared in Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, this is what is spoken by Vyasdev ji to Shukdev ji, but in Manusmriti, Manu Maharaj has also mentioned this. Aho Ratre Vibhajate Suryo Manush Lokike. Manusmriti is saying Manush Lokike, and then Manush Devike is spoken by Vyasdev ji to Shukdev ji. And Ratri Swapnaya Bhutanam Cheshtaya Karmanam Aha as in during the daytime. Ahani Bhutani, as we say, or Saptah, 7 days. So Ratri, night is for sleeping for the living entities, and Chesta is performing activities or desiring to perform karma during the daytime. So it is the sun, once again, Prabhuji Mataji. So everything is based on the movement of the sun. So as per Mahabharata, 5 and 10 winks of the eye is 1 kasta, which is 8 seconds. And 3 kasta is 1 kala, which is 2 minutes. Once again, there it says, like I said, so there are 48 minutes. 1 Muhurat is 48 minutes. So there it says 30 kalas, which is 130 kalas plus 110, 1 Muhurat, which is 48 minutes. So that's how there are 30 Muhurats in a day. And then 30 Muhurats, and then if you work it out, then there are 1440 minutes in a day. And then 30 day and night is 1 month, and then 12 month is 1 year. And then 1 human month, still same, 1 which is 1 day and night of Pitras. Yeah? And then one light half is Shukla. Actually, here it is said little. I mean, just get the like I said, the principle. Yeah, it could be different places. Yeah, sometimes different calculation. But let's not get confused. Let's not get hung up in that. Yeah, so the dark fortnight is their day, and in Manusmriti it is saying the dark fortnight is their day for active exertion, and the bright fortnight. Get confused. And then Mahabharata also says the 1 human year is 1 day and night of the demigods, and 1 year is made up of 2 solar motions, as we've already discussed, the northern and the southern movement. The half year, for which the sun travels from the north to south and from south to north, as usual. And in Manusmriti also Manu Maharaja says the half year during which the sun progresses to the north will be the day. Yeah, as I said, the days are bigger, and during which it goes southward is the night for the demigods. Yeah. So when it is Dakshinayan, then it's night for the demigods. When it's Uttarayan, then it's day for the demigods. And then 1 day and night of demigods is 360 human days. Yeah, because our 1 year is their 1 day and night. So our 1 solar year, once again, this is how the demigods' time is calculated. Yeah. And then 1 year of demigods is now 360 human years, as you can see. And then demigod's age is also specified to be 100 years. So just be mindful. It is spoken in like, once again, Mahabharata is spoken about or written about 5,000 years ago. So the 100 years of demigod is 36,000 years. So that's how long the demigods stay, or you can say they live. But remember what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita: Shune Punne Vitam Rajan. Yeah, once their piety is exhausted, they again have to come back to Martya Loka. Abrahma Bhuvna Loka Purnar Avartino Arjuna. Lord Krishna is saying he is not just the demigods, he is saying Brahma. Even Lord Brahma, Brahma Bhuvna Loka, from the lowest planet to the highest planet to the planet of Brahmaji, Punar Avartino Arjuna. Mam upetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. But oh Arjun, oh Kunti Putra, oh my auntie Kunti's son Arjun. See, so much affection Krishna is showing to Arjun. But if you surrender unto me, Mam upetya tu kaunteya. But if you surrender to me, punarjanmana vidyate, you won't have to take another birth. Yeah? So Prabhuji Mataji, this is the calculation for demigods and pitras. Yeah. So these are the three, you can say, the living entities, that we have discussed. There are other creatures who are living on the earth, but these are the principal ones. So now, in verse number 17, now after Maitriji has spoken the lifespan of demigods, pitras, and human beings, now Vidurji asked him another question. So Vidurji tells him, Pitra Deva Manushyanam Ayur Param Idam Samritam. So he tells Maitriji that now I have understood. Pitri Dev Manushyanam Ayur Param Idam Samritam. How their age is measured, how their lifespan is calculated. My dear sir, I have understood that. But then he says, I want to know. Yeah. Gatim achakshava paresham. Yeah. So he says, now I want to know the movement. Gatim achakshava. Please tell me the movement paresham of others. Yeah. Who are others? Who are beyond. Who are kalpad bahir vidu. Yeah. Who are beyond the kalp. Yeah. Or who can say whose lifespan is to the whole kalp, duration of the kalp, or who are beyond the kalp. Very, very important point here. Just make a note. Kalp and Mahakalp. Yeah? So Brahmaji age is 100 years. When Brahmaji's night happens, he sleeps. He doesn't die. Yeah. So he just sleeps. So the lifespan of Brahmaji is called Mahakalp. And here the question that Vidurji is asking is, whose lifespan is beyond Kalp? Kalpad Bahir Vidu. The people who are living outside the Kalpa. So Prabhuji Mataji, now what happens is, as you know, there are 14 planetary systems. Yeah. So, and we are really speaking about above the earth. Below the earth, as you know, 7. Atal, Vitala, Sutala, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, and Patal. These 7 are below. Yeah. So they are not even considered in this calculation. So you can understand. Yeah. Why would you want to go down? As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, yeah, adho gachanti tamsa. Adho gachanti tamsa. So people who are in the mode of ignorance, they go down. Yeah. But he says, urdhav gachanti sattvastha madhe tishtanti rajasa. Yeah. But people in the mode of goodness, they go upwards. So they go to upper planetary system. Now, what are the upper planetary systems? So what happens is, so we have Bhu, Bhuvar, and Swarg. Yeah? Bhulok, Bhuvarlok, Swarglok. Then Janlok, Taplok, Then Maharlok. Maharlok, Janlok, Taplok, and Satyalok. 7. Bhu, Bhuvar, Swarg, Mahar, Jan, Tap, and Satyalok. Satyalok is Brahmaji's planet, topmost planet. So this calculation, we have only spoken about human beings, pitras, and demigods, which is, we have gone up to the Swarg level. Swarg, yeah, very important. And above the Swarg, there are these four planetary systems, or 4 planets, which are Maharlok, Janlok, Taplok, Satyalok. So Prabhuji, Mataji, not just Brahmaji, anyone who is living in those 4 planets, they also have the same lifespan as Brahmaji. Yeah? So they also live same time as Brahmaji lives. They don't perish, so they have the same lifespan. Yeah? And then when the partial pralaya happens, in the in the current Manvantar, the Shaunak Rishi and Bhrigu Rishi, it is said, they go from Mahar Lok to Jan Lok. It is like you going from 3rd floor to the 4th floor. They go to that Lok and they start glorifying the Supreme Personality of God. They start praying. Whereas the Pralaya is happening in these 3 planets: Bhulok, Maharlok, Swargalok. Yeah? So we will stop here now, and tomorrow we will discuss the life and the calculation and the measurement of time for the planets which are above the Swargalok. So we'll discuss that tomorrow. So once again, thank you very much for your association, and thank you very much to our ISKCON Sydney temple management team, Her Grace Mathura Gokul Devi Dasi Mataji, for arranging this and giving me the opportunity to serve my Guru Maharaj, to serve Srila Prabhupada, and to serve